Hello, I am Niall Crabtree and this is a video on game design. Good level design constantly teaches the player something new. That right there is the fourth principle in the 10 principles for good level design by designer Dan Taylor. I'll leave the link to his GDC talk in the description below. This principle is key to understanding how the original Portal, which was released by Valve as part of the Orange Box back in late 2007, works. Portal is like a brilliant yet incredibly narcissistic teacher, where their favourite topic is themselves. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. When you play a level in Portal, whether it is the first level, 6th level or final level, the game is making you a smarter Portal player by keeping you constantly motivated to learn about itself. The outcome of this involves being more knowledgeable about the game world, the mechanics, and how the physics works. Now of course, any well-designed game also does this, even though they might do it in different ways. But none do it as well or as completely as Portal does. When you finish Portal, you become a master at Portal. You have your PhD from the School of Portal. You have everything you need to say, I know everything about this game. Portal's mechanics are fully explored once you get to the end of the game, which, as a side note, is great from the game design narrative that plays out when progressing through the game. Aaron Sorkin, the writer behind one of my personal favourite movies of all time, The Social Network, once said that there is a big difference between the story stopping and the story ending, and I think there isn't a truer statement which can be related to a game than Portal. Anyway, this is further exemplified by the plethora of community mod levels for the original title. When I return to Portal for the umpteenth time, it's no surprise that I can blitz through the levels in just a few seconds, which previously it would have taken me 10, maybe 15 minutes, maybe even longer. But what was surprising to me was that I would complete puzzles in community mod levels just as quickly as I would when replaying Portal, despite never touching it before. This is because Portal's length is exactly the right length. The flow of the game is perfectly created to fully explore every idea that the mechanics have to offer. This is why I believe it is very important for us to take a look at how exactly the developers of Portal created such a complete puzzle experience. Returning back quickly to the GDC talk from 2013 with Dan Taylor, he paraphrases the book A Theory of Fun by Ralph Kosher, saying, "The human brain enjoys finding patterns for storage and retrieval later." Portal achieves both sections of this statement very well in its design flow. It achieves the finding patterns part by constantly introducing new mechanics in its short runtime, none of which overstays its welcome. And it achieves the player storing this information for retrieval later, say for the final boss fight where there are multiple mechanics used at once, by iterating on ideas and squeezing every possible use out of them, which makes the player more likely to remember them and how to use them in the future. Speaking on that last point, let's just take a moment to look at momentum in Portal. The first necessity for momentum comes from Test Chamber 10, in which there are 3 puzzles to solve, the first of which introduces the player to an elevated platform that they cannot reach just by jumping. Thankfully, in the previous test chamber, the game taught us that if we were to come across a platform that we cannot get to just by jumping, then we should come out of an orange portal to achieve this. Now this is done a lot at the beginning of Portal, when you are restricted to just using one of the 2 Portal colours. And funnily enough, this actually meets one of the other design principles from the GDC talk that I mentioned earlier, which is to use visual language to guide the player. This is important for the final test in this chamber, but up until now, every chamber has made it so that the orange portal leads to the exit. So, once you use the orange portal to get enough distance to jump through a blue portal, which creates enough momentum to fire you across the exit, you are then met by a larger room with an actual jump. Again, the orange portal is placed in roughly the same place as the last room, and the player is wired to know that if they come out of the orange portal, it will lead them to the exit. This, coupled with the fact that the entire room lacks portable surfaces apart from the place where you are supposed to portal onto, makes it a great safe environment for the player to learn this new trick. Once they portal onto and fire themselves through the exit, they are then met by one final test. the one meant to set them up for the rest of the game, and the one to give them the tools they need to use momentum to complete puzzles in the future. The player enters the room, notices an almost identical setup as the last room, and attempts to portal down onto the portal surface in view, which is again identical as the one in the last room. But no, it just doesn't work, and that is because the surface is being used by the orange portal. This is great design. Not only is the whole of the 3 rooms dedicated to this one moment of surprise, but the whole game has been leading up to you realizing that the orange portal isn't just for reaching exits. This is also a great lesson, because in just a couple more rooms you are going to be able to pick up the improved portal gun, which allows you to shoot 2 portals at once, which means that not just the orange portal is going to allow you to get to exits. Anyway, you slowly climb back up to the top and notice that the place where the orange portal was located in the last room is now vacant. So the player shoots their blue portal up there and does the jump. It's pretty obvious and shouldn't take the player too much time to figure out. But wait, again, it didn't work. This is the final step of the learning process, and one done so well with yet another surprise. Finally, let the panels move out one last time, replace your portal, and fire yourself through to the next chamber. It teaches that player just that little extra bit about the physics system, and helps them adjust their gauge to how the momentum and physics in the game works. And not only that, but what they can expect in the future from it. This is incredibly important for when you have to start using mechanics together to solve puzzles. The pacing of Test Chamber 10 is done beautifully. Momentum as a mechanic never overstays its welcome, which, if we bring it back to the quotes from A Theory of Fun, is incredibly important for keeping the pace of the game up and moving the player onto learning new mechanics before the process of retrieval begins in the later stages of the game. Again, referring back to the final levels. However, it isn't just brevity that makes the pacing of this short tutorial on momentum so well done, it's the structure of it. From the same book, we are given the structure learn, play, challenge, and surprise. This is a great way to not only teach the player a mechanic in your game, but get them engaged with it. The first 2 rooms in this test chamber are the learning and the playing part of that structure. They are designed to be as easy as possible and very unlikely for you to fail. It's a safe space and a great way to teach the player the very basics of the mechanic. Then, however, you are met with the 3rd room, which challenges the player to think about portals differently for the first time in the game. This is then followed shortly by a surprise. Despite the player figuring out the challenge and overcoming it, they still fail in getting to the exit. That surprise not only makes the player more engaged with the mechanic, but it makes the experience a whole lot more memorable than just waltzing through knowing exactly what to do. Even in my most recent playthrough, it caught me off guard despite having played the chamber countless times before. This method of tutorialization is one that achieves what I said at the beginning of the video. When, as the player, you eventually make your way through all of the tutorials in the game, you know everything there is to know about the mechanics of the game. This makes using them in tandem easier than without said tutorials, something which a game like Bad Is You lacks in its design, culminating in a much harder game with a much more dense and impenetrable logic to it. I am not saying that Portal did the right thing by doing this, but I do believe that the developers achieved what they had set out to do, which was to create a casual, wide-reaching puzzle game that was many people's first entry into the puzzle genre. If you ever want to create a tutorial for your game, look no further for inspiration than Test Chamber 10. Hello everyone, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to check out all the links in the description. However, before you leave, I'd just like to mention that there is a like goal for today's video. If by the time the next video goes live, we have 10 likes on this video, I will do a full playthrough stream on YouTube of the original Portal. If we get 30 likes in the same time frame, I will do a full playthrough of both Portal and Portal 2 on a stream or two on YouTube as well. If you've made it to the end of this video, hopefully you don't mind liking the video anyway, because I'm sure you probably liked it. Liking the video really does help the content reach more people and help the channel grow. So I hope this incentivizes you to click that like button. Thanks once again, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.